He's long, but he's not so strong. How is Brandon Ingram going to translate to the NBA? That's what we're going to talk about today. We got small forward rankings on the docket as well. Kyle Gaffner is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. Let's talk about it. Ingram, how is he going to translate to the NBA? Do you think he will?
I think he will. I think it won't be instantaneous, but I think he's going to be the better prospect when it comes down to it at the end. He's going to be a great player. The dude has so many intangibles. He's going to be a great pro. He's got so many versatility. He's got great moves. He can shoot. He's great in ISO. He can play with his back against the basket. I mean, be it as it may, he is a little bit scrawny, but the kid can bulk up. So I think the transition, it might take a little longer, but he's going to get there.
Yeah, he's going to have to bulk up like 30 pounds. He's got a light little frame there. I'll tell you what, if he was playing 15 to 20 years ago, he'd have no shot, I don't think.
No.
The physicality of the league was just, yeah, that's what it was back then. The Knicks and the Bulls going at it all those times, the Knicks and the Heat, early 2000s. That sort of deal. Yeah. But these days, you can be a little bit smaller. You can be more of a little bitch in the NBA these days. Ingram, we'll see. I mean, he's 190 right now. I've made this comparison before with Durant because that's like the comparison people like to make. Durant was about 230 in college. Ingram right now is 190. So he's got a ways to go. Durant added like 15 pounds to his frame since college. So he's got to add like 20 to 30 pounds, I think. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm not as high on him as you are, but hey, I know I've been, right all the time.
And he has bulked up since the end of the season up until pre-workouts. He's put on 22 pounds, I believe. He's up to 195 right now. And at the end of the season, he was 176. So he's starting to eat, and he's starting to bulk up now. So I think it'll eventually get there. I mean, he's still so young, too. He just turned 18.
I think he was like 150 or something when he was at Duke. Like when he got to Duke originally. I forget what the number was, but it was something like I heard the number and my jaw dropped. I was like, how can a 6'9" dude be that skinny? It's just ridiculous.
It's a rail.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, yeah, I like his shooting. He's a good shooter. I don't think he's like an elite or great shooter maybe, but I do think he's a good shooter. His basketball IQ is up there. That's what I like about him. He's pretty athletic. He's got the basketball IQ there. He's a pretty good passer. He can defend a little bit. So he does have some of the intangibles that you want. It's again the physicality. I mean, how's he going to be at the NBA? I think his ball handling needs to get a little bit better. I don't know how he can get to the 10 on a consistent basis. I don't know. I have my questions, but at the same time, I mean, I think he can be okay. I don't think he's going to be like a Michael Beasley type bust, but I think he's not going to make as many all-star teams as people think. That's what I'll say.
I think he will just because the shooting stroke helps him so much and the ability to move with the ball. I think he's got better ball handling skills than you give him credit for. And I think it helped because when he was a freshman in high school, he was 6'2", and he played point. So he was able to learn that versatility and be that versatile by crossing people over and learning how to play that position. And it converted when he jumped up 8 inches. But, I mean, the dude can tickle the twine. He shot great from behind the arc, 41%, which is nice. The only problem is, college ball isn't as physical as it is in the NBA. So, those turnaround jumpers are going to be a little bit harder, or backing down is going to be a little bit harder because they play more physical there, and you're not going to get all the calls because college, as we know, is a little bit more ticky-tacky. And they get a lot of the calls. So that bulking up is going to need to happen, but I think he's going to be a really good player.
I want to see him hit some more contested shots. He got a lot of open looks at Duke. And when he did get contested, when he had a good defender on him, not that he struggled, but he didn't do as well as you'd probably like him to. I mean, maybe I'm being too harsh on him because he is the number 2 overall prospect in this class, at least the consensus. I mean, I know you have him number 1. But, yeah, again, it's like I am worried about the weight. I am, just a little bit, yeah.
Right? It's something. It is something to be worried about too. But if he bulks up and he learns how to be physical, I mean, time will tell. We'll see within the next 5 years if it will be a consistent problem. I hope it's not. I don't think it will be. I think he will rely on his shot a lot earlier in his career than most. That driving to the 10 because he's going to get banged up. If he comes to going right to the 10, somebody's going to give him a good shot. It's like welcome to the NBA, Rook.
I mean, I will say this. I like the fact that he's trying. It's about the wherewithal and wanting to do it and wanting to be great. And he is at least trying to bulk up. Even just from listening to the interviews, he's been eating a lot more. So he's trying at least. So I'll give him credit there.
And we'll see it happen. And that could affect the problem. But his length make up for that too. He can get to the cup with 20 feet with 2 strides. The kid is just long, athletic, and yeah, he could get blown past, but he'll be able to block shots. But time will tell with this kid.
All right, number 2 on our list. I'll go first. You had him as a shooting guard. I'm going to put this guy as a small forward. That's Jaylen Brown from California. This is a kid I'm not that high on, even though I have him number 2. I will say this. He's a physical specimen. He's an elite kind of athlete. He's got a lot of power to his game. Considering he was a freshman, I mean, that's incredible. He's already this physical. He's a very good defender. He gets to the foul line all the time. But my thing with him is he needs to improve his handling a little bit. He's not really that great of a shooter right now, but again, that's something we've emphasized on other shows. You can always get better as a shooter. You just got to hit the gym. But I don't know. Jaylen Brown is a huge question mark to me. He's a boomer bust type of talent. But I think there's people that probably like him a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I do like him. I think he could play shooting guard or small forward. He's an athletic. Yeah. He's a slasher. He's an exciting player. But he's like a Stanley Johnson, like I said before, coming out. Can lock down defenders on the perimeter, but he's going to have to develop an offensive game if he's going to stay in the league.
Now, who's your number 2?
I've got this guy as he could play a power forward or a small forward. This guy's a Swiss Army knife. It's Ben Simmons. I mean, you can put the guy at the 1, the 3, or the 4, I think. Maybe even the 5. Who knows? But he's an athletic freak. He's got the size and quickness. He's got the NBA body ready. He's got elite passing, elite vision. I'm excited to see this kid. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen. If he can just develop that shot, it's the only thing I have with him. And the instincts. Does he have that killer instinct to take over a game? Too. That's what I'm worried about a little bit with Ben Simmons. But he's a great rebounder. He can box out. He can lead you on the break. He's an exciting player. Him and Ingram are like one-on-one, as we've been talking about for months and months and months.
I mean, obviously, I love Ben Simmons, but if there is one flaw to his game that I'm concerned with at least a little bit, it is that killer instinct, to take over games. I've seen it in spurts during the year. I saw it against Oklahoma. But then there's other times where he kind of he just facilitates instead of taking the shot at the end. I mean, LeBron James has been putting that top career. Yeah, it's gotten better over the last 5 years. I think since the 2011 NBA Finals, since that Dallas series, he's there. I mean, I think he has it now. But before, I always question that. You're the star of the league, and you're not taking the shot in the last 5 seconds of the game. That was always been my dilemma with LeBron, but I think he's better now than he was. So, yeah, that's my thing with Ben Simmons. I mean, obviously, I love him. I think he's the best player in the draft. We'll see. Denzel Valentine, for me, is number 3. I know you have him as a shooting guard. This is a guy that can play pretty much any position, really. He can play point guard if he wanted to. He's a very long kind of athlete, pretty good shooter, good ball handler, obviously, great vision. As a passer, I mean, he killed it at Michigan State. Tough kind of rugged defender. He's got high basketball IQ too, just like Ingram does. My thing with him is the athleticism. This is a problem with, this is my thing with some of these college kids and why some don't translate to the NBA. I think Valentine will translate, but because of his basketball IQ, because his ability to pass the ball. But some of these kids, man, like they're great at the college level because they can win with their mind. But then when it comes to NBA, they just don't have that athletic ability to get it done. And Valentine, that would be my concern with him. But overall, I think he's going to be a pretty good pro.
And he was coached by Izzo.
Yeah. So I think he'll be fine. Who's your number 3?
I got Torrey out of Baylor. Versatile player, great athletic, big body, big arms, great offensive rebounder, very smart. He's got great leadership skills. He's got a little bit of an offensive game, but nothing that's really going to jump off the page at you. He's a little too inconsistent with his shooting. I'd like to see him develop a better shot, especially behind the 3. He's more of a guy, I think it's going to be a role player, somebody that's going to do the dirty work for you. Come off the bench, hit that corner 3, dive on the ball. You're like an energy player almost.
Yeah. Our small forwards are just a tad different because you had some of these guys as guards. So if people are wondering, like, you're not going to have Valentine or Jaylen Brown on this list. My number 4, DeAndre Bembry of St. Joe's. I don't like the Hawks. I'm a Temple guy, but I do love Bembry's game a lot. Actually, a little bit like Valentine in a sense. He's a kid that can really guard you. He can defend multiple positions. He's got that excellent vision and passing ability, just like Valentine does. He can get to the basket with ease. Basically, the difference between him and Valentine, though, Bembry can't really shoot right now. So it's an improving jumper, but he's not there yet. So that's the reason why Valentine is ahead in my rankings over Bembry. So who's your number 4?
Number 4, I got Troy Williams. Athletic. I feel like I've said this about 4 or 5 of these. It seems like everybody coming out of college anymore is just a freak athlete, but that's the way it goes nowadays. But he's great at slashing to the tin cup. He's not great at ball handling his first 2 years there at Indiana, but he leaps out of the gym. He's a showstopper, I like to call him. The dude can just throw down some exciting dunks. He's another highlight reel type guy. Leaps out of the gym, is good at rebounding. The only inconsistencies I see out of him is handling the ball, especially when he's slashing to the cup, and his shooting. Although, as we've seen over the past 3 years, he has improved each time. So if he keeps working on it, he might become a little bit more consistent. But he reminds me of like a Sean Marion type of guy.
Okay.
Real exciting player. I like him.
Yeah. All right, number 5. This is where that what's his name? Lua, whatever the fuck his name is from France. That should be the number 5. I just completely butchered that. But I don't watch the European game. I'm not going to judge from highlights, so I'm not going to include him on the rankings. The only guy I'm going to include in the rankings is Dragan Bender. He's going to be in my power forward rankings. Number 5. I kind of brought him up as a guard on our last show, but I'm going to put him at small forward. I didn't put him in my top 5 shooting guards, so I'm going to go Michael Benajay here. You want to talk about a guy that can defend and has the versatility to defend multiple positions on the floor, like I just talked about with Bembry. I mean, Benajay's even better in that aspect. He's another kid that pretty good passer. He sees the floor pretty well. He's got some vision to him. He's a guy that's going to hit that corner 3 like Bruce Bowen. So he's a lot like Bruce Bowen in that sense. A little bit like him, similar style there. He is already 24 though, so
oh wow.
I mean, he's old dude. But we'll see. I mean, he's another kid whose athleticism isn't exactly out of the building, but I think he's a really good defender, and I think he can make it in this league just based on his defense. Yeah,
guys can make up for athleticism, not having athleticism with their smarts.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll have a problem there. You can make hit you out a hole in this league just by playing defense. My number 5 guy is Nigel Hayes. Kind of reminds me of a guy coming out of Michigan State a couple years ago. He was a lockdown defender, could shoot a little bit, handle the ball. He was a good shooter behind the 3 in Draymond Green.
Yeah.
This guy was so underrated when he was at Wisconsin. He was overshadowed by Sam Decker and Frank the Tank Kaminsky. But after they left, it was all on him, and he stepped up. The dude is a great on the block defender. He can even go out guard some guards behind the 3-point line. He's got long arms. He's a great rebounder. He's going to do the dirty work for you, even throw a couple shoulders. He's a nasty guy. I really like him. But he's a very consistent shooter, too. So I like that, too. I like a forward that can stretch, especially wing players. He can even play the 4, too. The 4, too. But he's a great shooter, and he's an underrated passer, too.
All right, so those are our top 5. Just to throw a couple names out there, because there are 2 guys that I'm really curious to see how they pan out at the NBA level. George Niang of Iowa State. I mean, I love the kid in college. I love watching him play because he's got that old school kind of YMCA gym type of game. The way he can just contort his body, all these different positions. The way he, you want to talk about basketball IQ. This guy has it. We'll see how he translates to the league, though. I mean, he really is very limited athletically. Perry Ellis is the other one from Kansas. So those are the 2 kids. I shouldn't really call Perry Ellis a kid. He looks like he's 45, but
yeah, he does.
yeah. You want to talk about a hairline? Jesus, poor kid. Yeah, these are the 2 I'm really curious to see because I loved him in college.
I like Justin Jackson, actually. I really like his game. The dude has a versatile, or not versatile. He's a polished scorer. He's got a nice mid-range game. He could drive it to the cup. He's got a nice little floater going. What I'd like to see him do, though, is extend his range a little bit more. He's great 18-foot to 20-foot range, but I want to see him start to hit the NBA 3. And his defense is lacking as well. But you want to talk about a jackknife of all trades. This dude is fun to watch. He's a scorer machine out of North Carolina.
Yeah, I didn't include Taurean Prince in my top 5, but I like him a little bit. I think he can be a productive pro. Some other names, some white guys. You already know my feelings on white guys. We got Jared Utoff. I hate Jared Utoff because he beat Temple in the first round. God, oh, what an ugly fuck he is! Oh my God, he looks like a woodpecker or a crack.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight. Jake Layman from Maryland is the other kid. So these are 2 other names. We'll see how they translate. Wayne Selden is a guy that you can put either at shooting guard or small forward. He's a guy that kind of, I'm going to say, underwhelmed at Kansas before this year. I mean, this year is pretty good. So we'll see how he does. Troy Williams, I mean, you mentioned him. I think he can be all right. Elgin Cook from Oregon is a kid to watch. Small school kid, Boise State. His name's James Webb. Take a look out for him. Other than that, I mean, I don't really know. Dorian Finney-Smith maybe from Florida might be all right. But, I mean, we're reaching now.
Yeah, I was about to say that guy I've never heard of, that the last guy you had mentioned. But I really like Wayne Selden's game. He was projected last year as a top 5 pick, and he did underwhelm a lot down there in Kansas. And a guy that just came out, Kansas is kind of weird because they'll produce really good players and they'll be dominant, and then they'll have a great recruiting class and then just fall completely off the bandwagon. I just don't know what the hell happened to them. But another guy just came out of there who had an awful year, and that's why I think this one and done is you're starting to notice it ruin the game a little bit. And I'm wondering, do you think they'll ever change that? Do you think they'll go back to kids coming out their junior and senior year, because you got to think that it's hurting their development.
Well, as a huge college guy, I would love to see some kids stay at least 2 years. I mean, shit, it would make the college game a lot better. But we're just this is kind of the era we live in right now. So it's funny. I thought that adding the freshmen to college ball would actually help it, but I think it's actually hampered it. The kind of basketball that I'm seeing, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it.
I don't either, and I had heard rumors that they were going to extend it another year and make it so you had to leave to your sophomore year, but I hope they extend it even more, man. At least make it a junior, because you're hurting the NBA game. A lot of these kids, that's why you feel like you see a lot of blowouts in the playoffs anymore, because there's so much inexperience with all these young guys. They're not developed. They're just going for the payday. And you don't really see those big rivalry games with teams anymore, with the Michigan States or the Michigans or the Dukes or the Kansases. I mean, it sucks. You look forward to stuff like that.
Yeah, just to get back to a point that we just kind of talked about before we end this show, we kind of got to end it. Kansas. Talking about Kansas, I mean, it seems like Kansas always producing these high upper echelon picks, and none of them ever pan out. I mean, shit. I'm just trying to think of off the top of my head. I mean, Nick Collison never really panned out. Julian Wright never panned out. Who else?
Kirk Heinrich.
Kirk Heinrich. At least Kirk Heinrich had himself a long career though.
He's decent.
But yeah, but he wasn't he wasn't. He didn't play up to where he got picked. I'll say that. Who else? Xavier Henry.
Yeah.
No, the Morse twins have actually been all right. I'll give them that. The Morse twins.
Yeah, they're decent. They're not bad. I expect a lot more out of them, but yeah, Xavier Henry was another one.
Yeah. Wayne Simeon.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a oh man. We just had Thomas Robinson.
Mario Chalmers.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of these guys. Brandon Rush.
Yep. We're great in college. We're dominant in college. It never really translates to the NBA level.
It's a weird thing there. I mean, they like to play a high-low type of game. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you don't have to be as athletic at Kansas. I don't know. They're not. None of them are really that athletic. I mean, even this year, Perry Ellis coming out. He's not an athlete. I don't know. Kansas, for whatever reason, they just don't produce good pros.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty much role players. I see. I think they just get drafted high because the upper echelon of what kind of team they are.
All right, we'll end it here because we got to do another one real quick. So, that being said, that's Kyle After. I'm Adrian Fedke. Power forwards are up next. Later.